Good afternoon. I am Mr. Gallett. I am your math teacher for this year. Welcome to Algebra 1 Honors. We're going to jump right in and get started in a moment. But I want to give you a heads up that today is going to run a little bit differently than the normal class period. We're going to follow pretty much the same structure we're going to follow every day. But today you also need to learn some procedures and expectations and some math. So I will pause periodically throughout the lesson to teach you some of the procedures that I use in my classroom and some of my expectations. You've already learned the first procedure and my first expectation, which is you come in my room when it's time for class, you sit down, and you get started right away. You don't need me to prompt you. You are a bright, mature, young adult. You do it yourself. Okay? There's a bunch of other things that I'm going to be teaching you as well. So anytime you're confused or I'm overwhelming you with information, just raise your hand and let me know, and I will do my best to work out any confusion. Okay? So we're going to jump in with the math now. And this is review for all of you. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is review. My warm-ups, I will call around for volunteers, and I will also call on people who are not volunteering. So make sure you stay on your toes and you stay involved in the class. In the sports analogy, they call it keeping your head in the game. I know it can be hard at times, but you need to keep your head in the game. So let's see how we did. Number one, what did you get? Raise your hand and wait to be called on. Remember, I'm learning names. So we'll start with Kayla, Nathaniel, and then we will come over to Alexandra. Kayla, Nathaniel, Alexandra. Go.
6 and 2/3 and 6.
For number one?
No, 6 and 2/3
6 and 2/3.
I got 14.34.
14.34. So two different answers.
16 and a half.
16 and a half. What was your answer, Kayla? 6 and 2/3? Okay, so we got three different answers. Any other answers, or does anyone want to jump on one of the answers that was already proposed? John and then Christopher.
I got 6.32.
6.33.
I got 2.
You got 2. So we have dramatically different answers. Davis.
3 and 2/3.
3 and 2/3. Okay. How do you pronounce your name? Kadir. Go ahead.
I got about 2.17.
2.17. Okay, we got a lot of different answers. Any other answers out there that we haven't heard yet? I've lost track. I think that was 8 different answers. Go ahead. How do you pronounce your name? Ziamara. Go ahead.
2.1.
2.1. And you said, someone over Kadir, you said 2.17.
17.
And you say 2.1. And someone else said 2. Okay, the correct answer is 2 1/6. Now, before I continue, I need to interject a procedure. You're going to be marking your answers, your own answers today. You're going to be, every day in my class, marking your own answers, and most days you're going to be marking other people's answers as well. When you are marking your answers, you may not use your pencil. You must use a colored pen, a colored marker. Don't take anything out. Just wait. A colored pen, a colored marker, a crayon, a colored pencil. Something that is bright, easy to see, and can't be erased. For today, I'm going to loan you one of my markers. So I'm going to give the person at the front of the row a few. Take one and pass the rest back, please. Next time you have my class, which is tomorrow, you will bring one of your own. So now your pencil must be down on your desk. So everyone make sure your pencil is on your desk and your marker is in your hand. If you got question number 1 correct, then you are going to, using your colored marker, put a nice, clear, correct symbol. And you can pat yourself on the back and be pleased with yourself. If you got it wrong, you do 2 things. You're going to put an X to indicate that you made a mistake, and then you must write down the correct answer next to your answer. Because one of the biggest jobs you have this year is to learn from your mistakes. And as we have already discovered, you are going to make a lot of mistakes in this room. The good news is this is a safe place to make mistakes. You're supposed to make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes in this room, then you're doing something wrong. You're going to make mistakes. I've made 20 mistakes today already. I'll be the first one to admit my mistakes. Mistakes are not something to be afraid of. Mistakes are incredibly important to the learning process. Kadir, you actually got the right answer, but you made a foolish, you didn't make a mistake, but you made an error in judgment about how to proceed. You converted fractions to decimals. And because of that, you ended up with a repeating decimal that you rounded. And you got a slightly inaccurate answer. Precision and accuracy is important. 2.17 is an approximation of 2 1/6. But what you should not have done is converted to decimal. There is a hidden reason why I gave question number 1 to you on day number 1. I wanted to make it absolutely clear to everyone in this room that you are going to be dealing with fractions every day in my class. And if you are afraid of them, if you hesitate with them, then you're going to be unhappy most days. My suggestion to you is to embrace it and just realize that fractions are just numbers, and you probably know how to deal with them already. You're just so used to looking at them and being afraid that you don't even realize that it's not that big a deal. And I'm going to show you why in a minute. Now, we're going to get the answer to number 2, and then we're going to go back and we're going to go over how to do number 1. If you got number 1 correct, then you can sit there and help us by raising your hand and interjecting. If you got number 1 wrong, as I suspect most of you did, then you will follow along with your colored marker. Before we get to that, let's go to number 2. What did we get for number 2? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 confident people. Can you do me a favor and move your name card over to this side so I can see it? Stephanie, and then we will go to Davis, and then Sebastian.
23.
23.
23.
So now you agree, okay?
23.
So we got 3 people who agree. So now it's seeming like there's some more confidence with this question. The correct answer is 23. So once again, if you got it correct, mark your answer correct. If you got it wrong, mark it wrong and write down the correct answer. Now let's go back. Number 1. Let's talk about a little bit of the terminology or the language that you're going to be hearing over and over again this year. Evaluate. The expression. Evaluate means find the value of. Expression is a mathematical phrase. This is the expression that they're referring to here. So find the value of the expression, this, when z is 2/3 and x is 1/2. So, what's the first thing you're supposed to do when you are trying to evaluate and you're given some numbers to use? What's the first thing you're supposed to do? Edgar, what do you think?
Put in the, like, switch variables with the number.
Good. I like the way you said that. Switch the variables with the numbers. Some people will say phrases like plug in or substitute. So we have to take these numbers that are given to us and put them in the right place. But you have to write it correctly. So before we start, can someone tell us what does it mean when there is a number next to a letter? What does that mean? Number next to a letter. Could you please pronounce your name for me? Exile. What's a number next to a letter mean? It is a whole number. You are correct. But when it's right next to a letter, you're actually being told to do something. What are you being told? Very good. Multiply. So you have to know that in your head So when we write it down, we're going to write 6 times. So all my students who got this incorrect, with your colored pen on this paper or somewhere on the side, you're writing 6 times. And now we have x squared. Well, x is 1/2, so we're putting the 1/2 in place of the x. So we're going to put 1/2 squared. Then it says plus z, but z is 2/3, so we're going to put a 2/3. So we have now done step number 1. We have substituted. But we have not evaluated because we didn't find the value yet. So now we have to do everything we're allowed to do. We have to do all the operations to find a value. But we have to do things in a specific order. What must be done first? 1, 2, 3, 4. John?
Find a half squared.
Very good. What's that called, that squared up there?
Integer?
Not an integer. This is an integer. An integer is a whole number that's positive or negative. That's a good guess. What's that little 2 up there called? In the back, Kayla? Exponent. So John was right, though. You must do exponents in this case first. Technically, we do parentheses first, like I have on this poster over here. But there are no parentheses. These parentheses don't count because they're not really doing anything except showing the 1/2. So he was right. We need to do this first. So now the hard question. What do you get when you do 1/2 squared? Kadir converted to decimal. Did you already convert to decimal? Okay, that was a mistake because actually doing 0.5 squared is much harder than doing 1/2 squared. What's 1/2 squared, Alexandra? 1/4. Very good. Let's do a little side trip and show why. So we're going to come over here and put 1/2. And what does 1/2 squared mean? It means 1/2 times 1/2. So we multiply 1/2 times 1/2, and how do you multiply 2 fractions? You multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. So, that was our little side trip. Now let's take it back to where we were. And what that means is the value of the highlighted part right here is really 1/4. So we got the value of that, but we didn't use this and we didn't use this. So we have to bring it down to the next line of work so we can continue. This is how your work should look for my class from today through the rest of the year. So now we have 6 times 1/4 plus 2/3. So we have multiplication and addition. What has to be done next? What has to be done next? Danielle. Very good. Multiplication. But now I've got 6 times 1/4, and in my head I'm having a panic attack because I don't know how to do 6 times 1/4. I'm freaking out. I don't like it. I don't like 1/4. Mr. Gallant, make it go away. But it's not going to go away. So now relax and realize that it's actually not a big deal. Matthew, how do I do 6 times 1/4?
Change your 1/4 to decimal.
Nope. Hopefully you heard what I was saying to Kadir, that we don't want to convert to decimal. That's making your life more difficult. We're keeping things as fractions. Danielle. Maybe that's, I think I understand what you're saying. You're canceling? Okay, let's pretend that we didn't know how to do canceling. What would you do first? Good, but it's confusing because there's this 6, and it looks like it's kind of, is it going across here or is it going across there? What does straight across mean?
6 times 1.
Very good. So the 6 gets multiplied by the 1. What gets multiplied times the 4? You're on a roll, Daniela. Keep it going. A 1. There's actually a hidden 1 right here, and you multiply straight across. So in essence, it's 6 times 1, 1 times 4. It's just 6/4. Multiplying a whole number times a fraction is actually very easy. You're multiplying the whole number times the top, and that's it. So we got the value of this, but now we need to add 2/3. Adding fractions. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. It's horrible. It's 6/4 and 2/3. It's like my worst nightmare. But yet, it's really not that big a deal. Not a big deal at all. How do you pronounce your name in the back? Kalasia? If I pronounce your name wrong, please correct me, okay? Kalasia, what do you think we have to do? And I know you didn't raise your hand, so don't worry about if you're not sure, but what do you think we have to do to add these two unusual numbers together?
Change the denominator to a common.
Wow, I must have an incredible instinct about calling on the right person because you're exactly right. We cannot add fractions that don't have the same denominator, so we have to change the denominator. What should the denominator be for both of these so that they are the same? Let's go with Valerie. 12. Very simply, change them both to 12. That will be 12. This will be 12, but now we have to change the numerator to match it. So now you say to yourself, well, I multiplied this times 3 to get this. Multiply the top times 3. And I multiplied this times 4 to get this, so multiply the top times 4. Now we can add. And when we add the numerators. And so when we add them together, we will get 26/12. Daniela noticed something before. She noticed that the top and the bottom can both be divided by 2. Divide by 2. Divide. That wasn't very good. Divide by 2. And you will get 13/6, which is 2 1/6. Davis?
If you, I also know that 26, it's only 2 numbers above 24, and 12 plus 12 equals 24.
Yeah?
And so that's 2 12s. You can do it like that and bend it.
That's a fantastic way of thinking. I hope you guys heard what he said. He recognized that 26 was very close to 24, and he knew that 24 was double 12. So 24/12 would be 2. But then there's 2 extra 12ths. So he knew that there was 2 holes and then this extra part hanging off the end. And that's the kind of thinking that you're going to need to be able to handle today for the rest of the year. I also want to make a point here. This is algebra, and it's actually basic algebra. This is just basic computation. If you can do this, and you can't do this, something's not right. You were supposed to be an expert at this before you were allowed to start doing this. So if you are not confident with fractions, I would make sure that instead of running away from them, that every time you have a question with fractions, you give it your double effort and make sure you're working incredibly hard. All right, so far we're doing fairly well. Does anyone have any questions on how we get number 1? Okay, now let's shift to number 2. And I'm going to pause here to teach a procedure. There are many times where I like to ask the whole class a question, and I want a response from everyone in the class. Some teachers will use raising hands. That's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but I prefer a more subtle approach. I like to use the thumbs up approach, okay? And I'm going to teach it to you right now. First of all, thumbs up. You're going to make a fist, and you're going to put your thumb up. Not like this. This is not a thumbs up. This is just a fist, and I can't tell what it is. Thumbs up means you're like this. And then you put your bottom of your fist on your desk like that. That's giving me a thumbs up. So here's how it works. Put your thumb down. Here's how it works. I will ask a question, and if you want to say yes, you give me a thumbs up. If you want to say no, you don't do anything. Give me a thumbs up if you are a member of Rockets D. Good. Put your thumbs down. Give me a thumbs up if you are wearing a blue shirt today. Good. Put your thumbs down. Good. Give me a thumbs up if you got number 2 correct. Good. Put your thumbs down. So now, we had half the class who got number 2 correct. And number 2, I'll be honest with you, is actually a very simple question. I am willing to bet that everyone who got it wrong, made the same exact mistake. So now that you know the answer, I would like everyone who got it wrong to look back at your own work, and I want you to find the mistake that you made. You've got 30 seconds. You now have the correct answer. Find what you did wrong. Okay, so I started out today's class by telling you that making a mistake in here is something I expect, and it is not something to be afraid of. And so my brave students will be the ones who raise their hands to tell us what they did wrong. Telling us what you did wrong helps us. Because I guarantee you there are a whole bunch of other people in the room who made the same mistake and are not as brave as you to tell us and to help us. So where are my brave students who can tell us what you did wrong? Edgar, what did you do wrong?
I didn't follow handouts and I subtracted 45.
So let me show you what he did wrong. He did 5 squared and got 25, minus 8 divided by 4, and then he did 25 minus 8, got 17, and then divided by 4. I see some people nodding their head. Give me a thumbs up if you got number 2 wrong and that's the same mistake you made. Put your thumb down. So that's pretty much everybody who got it wrong. Is there anyone who got number 2 wrong who had a different mistake that they made? Kayla and then Danielle.
With the exponents, instead of multiplying 1/2 by 1/2, I added 1/2.
Well, we're on number 2.
Oh, fail. I did the same thing, except it was with 5.
So you did 5 times 2?
No, I did 5 plus 5.
Oh, you added. I'm sorry, you said you added. So you did 5 plus 5 and you got 10. Okay, very good. Thank you for sharing. That's an honest mistake. It was just a visual thing. So things like that, they're going to happen. Sometimes you copy something wrong. It's not something to stress about. Shouldn't happen very often, but it's not something to get worked out. There was someone else who was going to help us out. Kayla in the back? You added also, you wrote a plus sign? Again, an honest mistake because you guys are sitting a little further away. It was a little hard to tell that that was a division symbol. If you ever can't tell, just raise your hand and ask. Or stand up and come closer to see a little bit further, a little bit closer to the board. Okay? Any questions? Good. So now, formally, welcome to Algebra 1 Honors. I am your math teacher this year, Mr. Gallant, as I already said. So now everyone take your colored marker, close it up and put it down. Leave your pencil on your desk as well. You're going to be just listening for a few minutes. So, invariably, every year, at some point, my students ask me, why do we have to study this? Some of you guys are very good at math. That's very clear. Some of you guys like math because you like to solve problems, or maybe you like being good at it. Some of you don't like it. Some of you just want to get through it, or whatever was going on with you with math, you still have that question in your mind. Why? Why do we have to study this weird X's and Y's? It's weird. So I'm going to try to answer that question now. First of all, what is it? Algebra is the study of numbers and how they relate to each other. It's about relationships. It's a powerful tool, extremely powerful tool. In fact, it's so powerful that I bet you don't realize that there are some things in your world that wouldn't exist without it. Give me a thumbs up if you know what a smartphone is. Thumbs up if you know what a smartphone is. Okay, most of us know what it is. Good, put your thumbs down. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever heard of a product called the iPad. Just about everybody? Good, put your thumbs down. Neither of these things would exist without algebra. These products were created by very, very intelligent engineers. Software engineers and hardware engineers. A lot of people. But none of them would have been able to come up with the ideas that they've come up with if they never took algebra and if algebra didn't exist. Algebra leads to pretty much everything else that's advanced. Just scientific discoveries, these phenomenal technological products that we use, they all exist because of algebra. So this is a room full of very bright young people. Most of you in this room are going to be leaders of some sort in your young adult life. After college, there's going to be some people in here who go to medical school, and maybe you'll save someone's life or discover a cure for a disease. Maybe you'll be a scientist and you do scientific research on diseases. Some of you will be leaders in business and will be the leader of a company that comes up with the newest, most phenomenal product that people go crazy for, like the iPad. So the people in this room are those people, but you're still young people, young versions of those people. So to get to that point, you have to take the steps that are required to get you there. Algebra is one of those steps. Okay? I've also outlined here, it's used heavily in science, engineering, economics, finance, architecture, and a lot of other things. It's from an Arabic word that means bringing together broken parts. We're basically talking about finding missing pieces. That's what algebra is. It was invented by an Arab mathematician, and I always have trouble pronouncing his name, but I will try. It's Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi. And when his name is anglicized or kind of put to English, it forms the word algorithm, which is a word that means a sequence of steps to solve a problem. Here is the most important reason why we study it. Algebra is considered a turning point. Now, I wrote that it's a turning point in your math education, but it's actually a turning point in your education as a whole. It is when we go from concrete problem solving to abstract problem solving. And I want to explain what that means. So first, Michaela, how many markers am I holding?
3.
How do you know that there are 3?
Because there are 3 different caps.
How many am I holding now? Well, why don't you know I'm holding them?
Because you can't see them.
Oh, so let's start again. Michaela, how many markers am I holding?
3.
How do you know that there are 3? Because you can see them. That's concrete. Right? Concrete means you can see it, taste it, touch it, smell it, hear it. You use the 5 senses. That's concrete. Now I'm going to be asking you, actually you started last year with Ms. Cooper, to think abstractly, to imagine things going on in the world only in your mind, but that you can't actually see or touch. That's abstract. That is a higher level of thinking than concrete. No offense to Michaela, but my 3-year-old son, this big, could have told me that there were 3 markers. Because we start thinking concretely very early on, like age 1.5, 2 years old. And we continue concrete thinking till we're in 5th grade or so, and then we can start going higher, some of us. And that's where you guys are at. And that's the most important aspect of everything that's going on with you this year, is that you are being asked to think at a much higher level, to use your brain in ways that it never was able to function before. Okay? Thank you, Michaela, for helping me. Does anyone have any questions about what algebra is or why we study it? Good. Here are some examples of things that you will learn by the end of this year. Right now, looking at this page as a whole, this should look unbelievably difficult to you. This should look like a foreign language. A foreign language that you were introduced to last year, but now I'm showing you much more complex versions of. This first example right here, this is going to be one of the last things you learn in my class all the way at the end of the year. This is extremely difficult. This also is later on in the year. You're going to learn the basics of this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. The 4th major concept over, solving proportions. See the top row? That's in about a week and a half. So you're going to be learning the basics of this, and then you're going to be learning this complicated version later on in the year. Everything in my class builds on something from before. That's what that back wall is actually for me to refer to things that you learned already. So now look, you see some more complex ideas, and one of the biggest things we do this year is we make pictures out of math. You're used to hearing them called graphs, but they're basically pictures of math. This is a parabola, which is a picture of a quadratic equation. And this is a system of equations. You're going to be learning how to do this in a couple of months. So these are examples of what you'll be doing this year. Does anyone have any questions on any of the items that you see here? All right, let's talk about supplies. Give me a thumbs up if you got a welcome letter yesterday. Thumbs up if you got a welcome letter yesterday. Good, put your thumbs down. So everybody got a welcome letter. So the supplies are listed in there. I have to make one modification. But I also want to clarify things for you. In my class, you must have a binder. There is a very, very important reason why you need the binder, and you'll learn more about that next time I see you. But you must have a binder. This is what I'm talking about. A 1-inch or a 1.5-inch binder. This is what you need for my class. If right now you are using a spiral notebook, that's fine. It doesn't make you a bad person. But you have my class again tomorrow and on Friday. By Friday, you need to have one of these. The reason is we constantly take work out of the binder. You'll be giving your work to other people. You'll be giving your work to me. And I will be giving it back, or other people will be giving it back. And you have to put it back in your binder, because you will use it to study, to review, and to get your grades. So, spiral notebook, I can take things out of, but then I can't put it back. So, spiral notebooks, we're not going to be using them in my class. If you have one, your parents bought it for you, you'll use it for a different class or for something else, okay? As far as the size of the binder, when you guys are really advanced and get to medical school, you could get one of these for yourself, because that's how much you're going to have to study every night in medical school. But right now, we're not really at that level. This is what I want. This is insane. This is what we need. Do not carry one of these around in your backpack. That's lunacy. this is normal. Any questions about that? Yes and then yes.
Does it matter which color it is?
No, don't care about color. Kayla.
It's not a good question, but now you're making me read it.
Okay. Well, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that's the reality of it. I'm sure you knew medical school was hard, but you'll be able to get there. I hope you do. All right, any questions? Fill your binder with a bunch of loose leaf paper and leave some extra at home because you're going to need it. We use loose leaf paper every day. Yes, Michaela.
Can it be college rule?
Whatever size is comfortable for you.
We also need graph paper.
A lot of graph paper. You need a lot of graph paper. We'll be using it. You see, we got the top row. We don't use graph paper until chapter 4, the middle row. So that's about 2 to 3 weeks from now. We will start using graph paper. Get some now. If you can get graph paper that already has holes in it, that's best. If you can't, don't worry about it. I have a hole punch over there that I'll be more than happy to loan to you. But you're going to need lots of graph paper, and we're going to use it pretty much every day from chapter 4 to chapter 5, I believe, to chapters 6 and 7. So for like half the year, we're going to be using graph paper. Yes?
Does our binder need dividers?
No dividers at all. My system is so simple. You do not need dividers, you don't need pockets, you don't need folders. You just need the binder. If you are going to get other things, then you're going to be making your life more difficult. My system is very simple. Stick with my system. All right, pencils, and more pencils. We use pencils in my class. A mechanical pencil is wonderful. That's what I prefer to use. A erasable pen is basically a pencil in disguise, so that's the same thing. The only thing I will not accept is regular pens. Now, we use colored pens and markers to mark up our work. That's fine. But when we're actually doing the work, like notes and classwork and homework or a project, we use pencil. So get a bunch of pencils. If you're concerned about losing your pencils, bring me a bunch of pencils. I will give you a box like this. We'll put your name on it, and then we'll put it in my closet, and anytime you need a pencil, you can take a pencil out of your own box of pencils. Okay? Questions? Good. This is critical. I loaned one to you today. You need to get, by Friday, a colored pen. I would get a box of markers or a box of colored pencils. That's probably best. Pencils can be a bit of a pain because you have to sharpen them periodically. Markers also have a flaw because they run out of ink. But either way, you need colored pen, pencils, or markers. Any questions about that? One item that was on the supply list that you will not need to get is a dry erase marker. In the past, I required it. You do not need to have it. If we need them, I will provide them for you. Okay? So I crossed it out. On your welcome letter, you can cross it out as well. One of the most important items is a calculator. You must have a calculator for my class. For us to be able to do high-level math, we cannot get bogged down with adding 125 and 268. We can't spend any time doing that. We either use tricks in our head to get through things like that, or we use a calculator. You must have a calculator. Last year, you weren't allowed to have a calculator. Now you must have one. What type do you need? You need a 5-function basic calculator. Boom, boom. Something like this. $1 or $2 at Walmart, Target, Staples, Office Max, Office Depot, Kmart, whatever. This is a more expensive calculator. You do not need this. Now, if this is what your parent got you, that's fine. Bring it in. Use it. I'm not going to stop you from using this. What I'm saying is I don't want you to leave my room today and go buy an expensive calculator that you don't need. We need an inexpensive 5-function calculator. Let me say it again. If you already have one of these, use it. If you don't have a calculator yet, buy something like this. Any questions? Good. So that's supplies. Any questions at all about supplies? All right, let's talk about your grade. This is the first time that you are taking a high school class. Not only is it a high school level class, it is a high school honors class. And therefore, it will not be graded the way all of your other classes are graded. This is the last I'm the last teacher you're meeting on the Rockets team. So you should have met all your other teachers, and your other teachers should have showed you what your grade is broken down into. So I'm going to show you mine. Mine's going to look slightly different than everybody else's. Everybody else's should have looked the same. It is a high school course. So here's the breakdown. Tests and quizzes are 55% of your grade. In all your other classes, it's 40%. So unfortunately, you're going to be spending time studying for your tests and quizzes. A lot of people in this room who are very bright and who have spent your entire educational career never studying for 1 second because you're so smart that you didn't have to. I'm telling you now, that's not going to be the case in this class. Homework and classwork is the same as all your other classes, 25%, tip is 15, star is 5. Does anyone know what's missing from the list that you have in your other classes? What's missing, Dalton?
Quarterly exam.
Quarterly exams. So there's something positive. You do not have quarterly exams in this class. So at the end of quarter one, when everyone else is taking a quarterly exam and stressing out about all their quarterly exams, which you will probably be too for your other classes, in my class, you won't be stressing about a quarterly exam. You might be taking a chapter test, but you won't be stressing about a quarterly exam. Now, having said that, you do have a semester exam and an end of course exam. You will have a midterm halfway through the year, and you will have an end of course exam. So it's not going to be easy. Got a lot of challenges ahead of you, but you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to learn how to work really hard. Any questions before I go over one last thing? Kayla?
Can you resay all the exams we're gonna have, please?
The what?
Wait, what are the exams that we're going to have?
The exams?
Exams and or the tests.
You're going to have a midterm exam and an end of course exam. Well, I'm not answering your question.
No, that's not it.
What's your question then?
You just, you named off all the tests that we would have, but now you're just going right to 2.
I didn't rattle off all the tests that you're going to have.
No, not like that.
Okay. You'll ask me individually. Yes, Davis. This? I'll explain this tomorrow.
So it's basically like Miss Cooper's class, but we just don't have quarterly exams first and third.
Correct. Any questions? Good. Lastly, the lowest grade I give on test quizzes and projects is a 50%. I'm not going to go into a long discussion about it, but this is a good thing for you. If you have a bad day, you got sick the night before, your parent made you come to school, you didn't get to study, you get a 20% on a quiz, I won't give you a 20%, I will give you a 50%. I'm not going to go into an explanation as to why, but it probably won't come up very often, but it will help you if that does happen to you at any point. Okay? All right. Now my website. Everyone listen carefully to what you're going to do. I'm going to use Dalton as an example. Dalton's doing a great job of writing down his work. Now he's going to take his paper and he's going to turn it this way, and he's going to use this big margin along the side of the paper. And in big letters, he is going to write the address of my website, algebron.blogspot.com.
I already have my plan.
All right? My website. My website is a critical tool for you to use. You will never ever have to ask me, Mr. Gallant, I was absent on Tuesday. What did I miss? You will never have to ask your friend, Shannon, I missed class the last 2 days. What did I miss in Mr. Gallant's class? Shannon will never have to answer you, because everything we do in this class is posted on my website. So let me demonstrate. This is my website, if you would look up here. Right now it's going to look a little confusing, and I'll explain why in a second. But first, along the left-hand side, over here, I have links to a bunch of things that you are going to need to use. And on the right-hand side, I have links to a bunch of things that will help you if you need. The bulk of the things that you're going to be focused on is here in the middle. Now, I record all of my lessons. I do not record people's faces. I record what is going on this screen right here, and I record all the audio going on in the room. So you hear voices, my voice and your voices, and you will see all the movements and everything that was presented on this screen. I record that as a video. It's called a screencast. And then I host them on YouTube, and then I put them here on my website. YouTube is blocked here on campus, so you cannot see the video here on campus. But tonight, as part of your homework, you're going to go home, go to this website, and you're going to bookmark it. When you go to it at home, you will see a video right here. And it's a video of my pre-algebra class from yesterday. If you want to, you could sit and watch it. It's an hour long. I wouldn't think you would want to do that, but if you wanted to, you could. But here's the great part, is you can fast forward, rewind, skip over things. If you just didn't miss the homework or something, you could go all the way to the end and get the homework. And I do this for every single lesson. One cool little side benefit is that you will hear your own voice. And if you have a family that is really supportive of you, you might want to show them this website and say, Mr. Gout recorded my class today. I volunteered a bunch. Would you like to hear it? And they will be able to participate in your education by hearing how you're doing in the middle of class. Okay? So what happens is I do these recordings, and then usually I post them in the evening. So if you have a bedtime at like 9 o'clock or something like that, you might not see it the same day. But if you woke up the next day, like maybe let's say you were sick tomorrow and you missed my class, you won't be able to see the video until Thursday. But then I would expect you to watch the video on Thursday to make up what you missed. And when you come into school on Friday, it will be as if you didn't miss anything. That's the point. If you miss my class once and you don't do anything about it, you will be lost when you come in this room. You will be absolutely lost. Everyone in the room will be sitting there going, yeah, oh, I get it, Mr. Gout. Yeah, I understand. And you'll be like, what? What did he do? I don't understand. What does that mean? You will be completely lost. The only way to make sure you are not lost is to watch screencasts. Okay? Also, you can put your email address, if you have one, or your parents' email address here, push the submit button, and then anytime I put something new on my website, you will get an email notifying you that I put something new. So you don't even have to check my website. You can just wait till you get an email. So that's a pretty cool feature. Also, the biggest thing on my website is the YouTube videos. Well, some of you may have a tablet or an iPad or Kindle or whatever, a smartphone. If you have the YouTube app, or if you go to the YouTube mobile site, you can go to my YouTube channel and watch the videos on your tablet. If your family is very techie like mine, they have these devices called media streaming devices that you can plug into your TV, and you can play YouTube through your TV. Or if you have DirecTV or something like that, you can play YouTube videos through your TV. You could search for my videos, and then you could watch them on your TV so that maybe your family wants to see what you're doing in class, or maybe you need help from a family member, or maybe you and a friend were on a trip and you both missed it and you want to sit and do it together so you don't feel like you're sitting there alone, then you can do it that way as well. You have a lot of options and no excuses. I am doing all this extra stuff to make your life a little bit simpler and a little bit easier to manage. Okay? Any questions about that? Any questions? Okay? Also, there are a few tools, a few pages over here. The Algebra Practice Workbook. Most days I use the workbook in class for you to do practice problems on. I don't give you a copy to take home. If you miss my class and you watch the video, when you get to the part of the video where you have to do the classwork, you won't have the book. You have to come here to use this book. That's the book right there. It will pop up right here on the screen for you to look at. That's the workbook. So, no excuse to be missing anything. Also, I have made digital flashcards for you. Everyone in this room needs to know the perfect squares from 1 to 20. The perfect squares from 1 to 20. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. Everyone in the room knows this. Everyone knows all the way up to 10. But you have to know all the way up to 20. So let's see who knows all the way up to 20. Who knows 11 squared? 11 squared. 1, 2, 3. How do you pronounce your name in the back? Feng? Go ahead. Very good. 121. What about 12 squared? What is 12 squared? Kayla in the back there. Let's see if she's right. Click to flip. 144. Also, since they're digital flashcards, they're different study modes. You could play a game called Scatter, which is a timed game where what you have to do is match the number, the square with its number. So 1 is 1 squared. When you put it on top of each other, it disappears. And your job is to make all of them disappear as fast as possible. The faster you are, the better your score. So let's see, 17 squared is 289, 15 squared is 225. $28 seconds. And if you play again, you'll get different numbers. Okay? So this tool is here for you to study with. Or if you're traditional and you'd like to study using flashcards, use flashcards. Now, I did make formula flashcards for you, but the problem is that the formulas don't look right. So I don't really want you to use these. Today I'm going to be giving you a stack of index cards, and you're going to be copying these formulas, these 6 right here, onto these index cards to use for studying. You're going to need to memorize these formulas in the next week. Okay? But if you look at them here, they don't look right. Some of them do, but some of them do not. For example, this is not how it's supposed to look at all. This is how it's supposed to look. So don't use these. Use the handwritten ones for that. Okay? Any questions on my website? Good. Now, everyone, your notebook should be now turned to its regular position. And this is something we're going to do every day. I said that there are no dividers for your binder, but we do divide our work into 4 different sections. We're skipping one of them today. But when we go from one section to the next, we divide our paper with a nice big squiggly line across your entire paper. So everyone draw a line across their entire paper underneath your warm-up. Line across your entire paper. Nice and dark so it's easy to see. And then everyone write classwork. Then write textbook, page 79, numbers 39, 38, 33, 32, 543, no calculator. So everyone write that down now. I'm going to finish distributing textbooks, so you're going to have to wait a moment, and then we are going to get started on our practice classwork for today. In addition to these questions, you are also going to get a set of index cards to start writing out the formulas for you to memorize. Just give me a second. Don't get started yet, just hold on 1 second. Okay, is there anyone who does not have a textbook? Okay, before you get started, I'm going to give you a stapled pack of index cards. Take one and pass the rest back. There are 6 index cards. There are 6 formula posters up on the board. After you finish the practice problems, you are going to, on one side of an index card, clearly write the name of the formula. So on one side, in big letters, you will write slope formula. Then you will turn it over and you will copy the formula, and you might need to do it this way. Copy the formula is exactly as you see it. M equals, big fraction bar, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Then you will do the same thing for slope-intercept form, point-slope form, standard form, Pythagorean theorem, and then the quadratic formula. Make sure you copy it exactly as you see it. Yes, that is a plus over a minus. Make sure you write plus over minus. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Make sure you copy it correctly. Okay? So, you're doing the textbook questions first, then you are doing the formulas. Does anyone have any questions?
Do they have to be in the order of this?
Thank you for asking. I was going to say something anyway. Yes, you must do the questions in this order. If you, for some reason, don't understand the question, by all means, skip it and come back to it at the end. But don't skip all of the questions, go to the first one, and then work backwards. I put the questions in this order on purpose. Every day in my class, you will see the questions going from the highest question to the lowest. Okay? Classwork is always timed. You have 10 minutes to complete everything. It's more than enough time. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead and get to work. Okay, your time is up. Put your pencils down and pick up your colored pen. Pencils down. The colored marker that I gave you for today, that's what you're picking up. During the warm-up, I call on volunteers. During the classwork, I reveal the answers, and then we take some time to go over them, and then that's when I will take volunteers to share their methods. So I'm going to reveal the answers. You're going to mark your questions correct or incorrect. Anything that you get wrong, write down the correct answer. Number 39, the answer was -3. Number 38, the answer was 2. (33), the answer was -49. 32, the answer is -15. Number 5 was 6. Number 4 was 5. And number 3 was -8. Remember, you were using your colored marker. After you are done grading your work, now we have to total it up to see how you're doing so far. There were 7 questions. Somewhere up where you wrote the assignment, make a fraction bar with a 7 as the denominator. Count up the number that you got correct. Count up the number you got correct, and you're going to put that at the top of the fraction. So if you got 6 of them correct, put a 6. If you got 2 of them correct, put a 2. However many you got correct, put the number up top. Hopefully you got 5, 6, or 7 of them correct. Usually, well, not usually, always we will convert this to a percent, except for today. Because you guys don't have your calculators out, it's not a big deal. But usually we will take the fraction and convert it to a percent. And what that tells us is how you are doing now. And that way, after you take a little time to learn from your mistakes, hopefully when you do the homework, you do a little bit better. And that's where this will come in, and I'm going to explain that next time. Okay? So now I'm going to take a couple of minutes, and I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Are there questions on any of these problems? Give me a, yes, go ahead. 38. Can you read me what the question was? X equals 6. Is this what it is? Can you look up here? Is this correct? 3 plus x plus -7? Okay. So what did you do? Good. So you wrote 3 plus 6 plus -7. And then what did you do? 9. Okay. So now 9 plus -7, and what do you get? Okay, so now you're getting rules confused. What you did was you took the rule for multiplication and you applied it to addition. The rule for multiplication is that if the signs are different, the answer is negative. But that's for multiplication. There's no rule for addition. You just have to know how addition works. This is 9 positives and that's 7 negatives. 9 positives, 7 negatives. You add them together, 7 of these will cancel out 7 of these. And you will be left with 2 of these. There's a bunch of ways I could illustrate it, but I would have to see how you learned it last year. Did you learn a number line method? Did you learn using little chips? How did you learn how to do integers? Okay. Okay. John?
Like the only reason why I got it wrong was because
Part of the expression?
Yeah.
So you thought this was all one equation?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the first day. It's understandable. Fung? Number 39? I'm really glad you asked about number 39 because that's the one I wanted to go over. If everyone will look at their number 39, and I believe the question was this. Oop.
The first 5 is a negative.
First 5 is negative?
Yeah.
Okay. And I believe x is negative 3. So give me a thumbs up if you got 39 correct. Thumbs up, people. I explained it clearly. Thumbs up. Put the bottom of your fist on your desk. Thumbs up. Keep your thumb up so I can see it. Okay, good. Matthew, what did you do to get the correct answer?
I put in the numbers and then
What numbers?
the negative 3
And you put that in where?
where the x was.
Good. So we put negative 3 plus negative 5 plus 5. What did you do next?
I added negative 3 and negative 5,
And you got?
negative 8.
Good. You get negative 8 plus 5, and then you add those together and you get negative 3. Give me a thumbs up if you did what Matthew did. Thumbs up if you did what Matthew did. Good. Put your thumbs down. Did anyone get the correct answer and do it differently? So now I'm going to open your eyes a little bit, and I'm going to try and encourage you to start using your brain at the high level it was meant to be. At the high level it was meant to be used. So I want to rewind for a second. And I'm going to change the question. Whoa, what happened? What is going on? What happened to my 5? Sorry about that. So I'm going to change the question. Give me a thumbs up if you can tell me the value of that without doing anything. With little to no effort. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, Sebastian, what does that equal?
0.
Sure? Yeah, you should be sure. It's 0. Why is it 0? Why is it 0? Here?
Because if it's a positive 5 and a negative 5, both of the 5s cancel out each other.
Oh, you said a magic phrase right there. Cancel each other out. Why do they cancel each other out? What are those two numbers called? There's a name for them. What are they called? What are they called? They're called opposites. Opposites will cancel each other out. Everyone look over here to my wall of properties. The inverse property of multiplication, the inverse property of addition. Adding opposites will get you a 0. Adding opposites will get you a 0. Look at what you could have done to get this question correct. Look at what you could have done. X was equal to negative 3, right? What was the answer to the question? Negative 3. So you need to start training your brain to look for things that you know already in your head. Opposites will cancel each other out. You should be looking for opposites. Okay? Good. Any other comments, questions? Good. Let me go back for a second. Here's your classwork. I need you to now draw one more line across your paper, like this. This is the last section of a lesson. and it's called homework. So everyone write homework, or you can write a big HW if you would like. You write a big HW or write the word homework. Either way, I don't care. And here is your homework for this evening. Make sure you have all required supplies. I'm a reasonable person. By Friday is fine. If you can get some by tomorrow, great. By Friday is fine. You don't even have to write that down. You should already know you got to get all the required supplies. Next, you're going to bring this textbook home and you're going to leave it at home. You're going to be using it every night. But tonight you're going to look through the pages 873 to 882 and page 885. You don't have to do any of the questions, but I want you to understand that it is my expectation that you know how to do all the types of questions on those pages. I am skipping over all of those concepts. If you don't know how to do any of the questions, if there's a section in there that you don't know how to do, you need to tell me, Mr. Gowd, I never learned how to do this, and then I will figure out a way to teach it to you. It won't be in the middle of class. It might be during care or during STAR or something like that. But these concepts you must know to proceed in my class. You are going to read pages 2 through 4 and pages 8 through 10. That's 2, 3, 4, and 8, 9, and 10. You must read them. It will give you some clues as to what we will be studying tomorrow. You need to start memorizing the formulas that you wrote down. You will be quizzed on them next week.